Well, Razorback fans, you're officially going bowling. You got your 6th win by beating Louisiana Tech. How do you feel about it? Well, let's try to talk about it in today's Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Neighbors. I am also the host of Inside Arkansas Live, which you can catch every weekday starting at noon on Inside Arkansas and InsideArkansas.com. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets. If you win your first $5 bet, visit FanDuel.com to get started. Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend, as there was a lot of things going on in the Razorback weekend. We'll talk about basketball that happened on Friday, as well as what's happening tonight. We'll get a little bit into the SEC talk, as well as some other things too. But the big topic of discussion today is, of course, the Razorback football team getting it done against Louisiana Tech. 35-14 was the final score in this game. It started off rough offensively for Arkansas. They got in a little bit more of a groove than the rhythm, and they ended up winning by 21 points. Not exactly something that's just going to change your mind, but then again, there was literally nothing that could have happened in this game to make you feel differently than what you do. You got to be glad that Arkansas won, I would assume. But here you are. You're now officially 6-5. And you have made bowl contention, and you have one final game left against Missouri this weekend there in Columbia, which we'll talk about and preview a little bit more as we get closer to that. But still, you did fine. I mean, 454 yards total offensively, 221 passing, 233 rushing. You were able to, do some nice things. You were terrible on third downs. You were 1-11 on third downs. You had way too many penalties. You had 8 of them. But still, you got the job done, and that's really what it counts. You got the job done. Taylen Green went 20 of 37, 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. That pick was awful, but he bounced back from that. Shout out to Rashad Dubinion. He gets 15 carries for 112 yards, so hit the 100-yard mark. Taylen Green also had 6 carries for 61 yards for 2 touchdowns. Quinton Jackson got involved again. 16 carries for 55 yards and a touchdown as well. So nice to see the rushing attack get going. Andrew Armstrong, 8 catches for 81 yards, no touchdown, so he's still sitting there at that 1 touchdown spot. But shout out to Isaac TeSlaa. Only had 2 catches in this game, but both of them were touchdowns. 2 catches for 38 yards. Isaiah Satania, 5 catches for 54 yards, had an incredible catch that I still don't know how he held on to the ball. But even got Luke Haz a little bit more involved there too. So nicely done from them. And then on the defensive side of the ball, it was a pretty good day for Brad Spence. He had 8 total tackles in this, 1 tackle for loss. Shout out to Landon Jackson in his final home game in Fayetteville. 6 total tackles for him, where he had 4 of them solo, and 2 of them were tackles for loss. He also has a pass breakup, had 1 quarterback hurry. One of those tackles for loss ended up being a sack. So I feel like he got 2 sacks in there, but maybe they scored it differently, or maybe I'm just mistaken. Maybe just was one of a tackle for loss there, but still. He had a sack. Xavier Sorey had a sack, and as well as Brad Spence. So, yeah, at the end of the day, it was what it was. It was a game that got you to bowl eligibility, and Larry the Bowling Ball came back out, which I know so many people are pissed off about Larry the Bowling Ball coming back, and I just can't help but laugh because to me, it does not matter. I think it's fine. I mean, you can say it's dumb, you can say it's lame, you can say it's all this, that, and the other. I don't care. If it's what Pittman wants to do, if it's what the team wants to do, if they like that, then have at it. Like, that doesn't bother me. But now you're sitting in a situation to where we all know Sam Pittman's coming back. He's coming back no matter what. And he was even asked about that in the press conference after the game. And he was like, there's not been one time that I've had to worry about my job here. He's like, I wish, it hurts recruiting. When people just keep bringing it up or keep talking about it on the internet and everything. And people can react a certain way. There's just such a weird negative energy surrounding the program right now and surrounding Sam Pittman, which I'm not saying there shouldn't be at all. But this is definitely a very weird time. It gives me vibes of the Houston Nutt era towards the end, where Arkansas was doing fine, like in that year that Arkansas, his final year, Houston Nutt's final year, Arkansas was fine. They went 8-4. Probably should have been a lot better. Yeah, Darren McFadden, and it's a better year then than it was this year. So I'm not trying to compare it, but I'm just saying the energy of everything when you look at Arkansas's setup this season, it's not been bad. It really hasn't. They've done a pretty good job at times, but they've also done a pretty terrible job at times. But just the overall vibe of the program, it just doesn't seem like it's there. And maybe I'm the one that's crazy. Maybe I'm the one that's not looking in the right places, which usually I pride myself on being able to get a good feel for how Razorback fans are overall feeling about the season, feeling about the program, feeling about the coach. And online, on social media, which I know you can't take as real life, but at least when it comes to fandom and at least when it comes to being able to grade out how a fan base feels, social media is usually a pretty good indication of that. Sure, there'll be a loud minority at times that you'll really hear about, and maybe that's the case right now. But it's like I go to the game against Louisiana Tech, and I'm not saying there were 78,000 people there or whatever, but there was a lot of fans. I was pleasantly impressed by it, the amount of fans that were there. I think they had the attendance at 66,000, which I believe, and it was good. I mean, great weather. That's always helpful. But the home games have been very well attended this year in Razorback football. And so usually one of the best indications of how fans feel about a current program and the status is attendance, which, we could talk about that in basketball all day long. But the fans are there. And there was even a couple times boo birds came out because of the way that the offense was playing in the beginning. But it's just it's such a weird energy. Pittman's the guy. He's coming back. But it doesn't seem like he's very welcome. It doesn't seem like the fan base overwhelmingly is happy by that. In fact, I would make the argument that they're more upset by it. But then at the same time, say if he beats Missouri this weekend, which it will be a big if, but say if he does, he's going 7-5 and 4-4 in the conference. It's not like he's been trash. It's not like he's been an embarrassment. And all things considered, Arkansas and then the games they've lost in SEC play, I don't know, I'm probably going to get on heat for this, but they've lost to teams that are better than them. It's not like they've lost a game they shouldn't have to a bad SEC team. It's not like we saw a 7-3 final score. The Oklahoma State game is the one that's going to sting. And I think it'd be a much different outlook right now for Razorback fans if Arkansas had won that game when they were sitting at 7-4 and then had a chance to go 8-4. There would be a different feeling of that, but that's not how it works. But the energy and the vibe is odd. Because next season, we know the schedule gets much more difficult. We'll see what the coaching side of things looks like as far as retaining coaches, assistant coaches, all of that. We'll see what Arkansas does in the transfer portal and getting kids to sign and everything. We'll see how all that plays out, and we'll see how all that goes down. But truly, it's like I'm kind of at a loss for it. I'm kind of up in the air of just like, I don't know what to make of this. I don't know if there's anything that Sam Pittman can do to just get people excited and energized again. But I also don't blame the fans for not wanting to be energized by Sam Pittman, not wanting to have that because they look at it as just, that he doesn't deserve that. He doesn't deserve that much love and appreciation right now. And, next season, we'll see, but who's to say that there's any reason to get excited about that? Who's to say there's any reason about anything like that? I mean, there's so much weirdness to all of it. And I wish I could just click like a fast forward button to see where this goes. But it just, I don't know. I kind of feel, in a way, I feel bad for Sam Pittman. Because, he's not going to give up. He's not going to just tuck tail and run. He's going to try to do the best job he can. And he still really loves Arkansas, and he really loves being the coach. And he really loves the kids. We hear him say that all the time. But it's one of those things where if you have somebody that loves something or someone, but they don't feel that love back, it's not good for anybody. That's a toxic relationship. Is that what it is right now? Is it just we're going to have to deal with this toxicity throughout all the offseason? I mean, is this what it's going to be like? Is this what it's going to be about? I guess so. Just dead set on doing this way. And I hate it. But they won. If they beat Missouri, it'll be like you gotta give credit where credit is due, and you gotta feel good about it because you haven't beat them very often. And they're not a very good team right now. Doesn't mean Arkansas is going to win. But I might as well just set it up right here for this game too, because I became their favorite person last year with my comments that I still stand by. But Missouri, you're a better team than Arkansas is. At least on paper, you are. So if Arkansas beats you, does that mean that Arkansas is a better team than you? Does that mean that they had a better season than you? I'm just asking you the question. Maybe you feel that way. Maybe you don't. But I'm sure no matter what it is, we're going to hear a lot about it, and it's going to be a lot of fun to deal just in certainty. So we'll get to that and a lot more coming up next. We'll also talk a little basketball as well. So stay with us here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, all you Razorback fans, you got to get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your team wins. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out all the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, so moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. So Razorback Basketball against Little Rock on Friday night, won by 12. 79-67. And, I know what people are going to say. I know what people are going to think. And, it's just, you talked about toxicity and talked about weird vibes and weird energy when it came to Razorback football. It's kind of that way right now with Razorback basketball where nobody really knows what to do. Nobody really knows how to feel. But Arkansas did take care of business, and they got the win, and that's all that matters in the end. Aduthiero was incredible once again. 29 minutes of play. He had 23 points, 7 of 9 from the field, 9 of 10 from the free throw line. Had 8 rebounds as well, 2 block shots, and 6 steals. Problem was with Arkansas with this game was the turnovers. 20 turnovers in this game. Way too dadgum many. 19 turnovers, sorry. But 5 of them came through Aduthiero. Boogie Fland, who also played really good with 21 points, 6 of 11 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3. Had 4 rebounds, 7 assists, but also had 4 turnovers. He had 3 steals. But then you had also Wagner and Big Z with 3 turnovers apiece. You had John L. Davis, Nelly Davis, as well as Carter Knox, both with 2 turnovers. So everybody had multiple turnovers except for Billy Richmond that they even played. But Arkansas had 15 steals in this game. It's just I've never seen a team that is better at getting steals than what the Razorback basketball team does defensively. And they're really good defensively. But, the offense is still the thing that's going to come around. Arkansas kind of ran out of gas, it seemed like, there in the end. And they just got to get everybody healthy. They just got to get people healthy. They got to get Jonas Adu healthy. You got to get Trevon Brazile back. And I know it's easier said than done, and there's nothing that can really be done by that, but they got to be able to find a way to make that happen. DJ Wagner was 4 of 10 in this game. Also had 5 rebounds. Big Z, 3 of 5. He had 10 points for him. Nelly Davis had 2 points in 31 minutes of play. But his plus-minus was at 20, is the highest on the team. Had 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 turnovers, and 2 steals. But, it's just, this is what I'm worried about, folks. And I'm not trying to hate on anybody or calling the kids out or anything like that. But, man, Nelly Davis is the one that's really scaring me. Because it's one thing to be a player that has a lot of hype coming in and then the pressure maybe gets to him or whatever, or dealing with a little bit of an injury like Nelly Davis has been. Like, that's all something. But, like, I saw that man miss a wide open layup. He's got the case of the yips. That's all. He's lost his confidence. That's the only thing I can say. And when you don't have Jonas Adu and you don't have you don't have Trevon Brazile, so you're already pretty shorthanded as it is. And then the guy that was the number one player out of the transfer portal, the guy that was making plays like crazy at FAU, the guy that felt like you could really count on, Nelly Davis just has yet to show it. And I really hope he gets it going. Some people took this, when I tweeted that out, as some sort of shot at him or something, and it's not at all. In fact, it's quite the opposite. I know how good he is, and I know how good he can be, and that's why it's like I want to see him get it going, because they need him. They need him to be that guy. And he just hasn't shown anything. Hasn't been able to hit threes, hasn't been able to hit twos. And he had 2 points in this game. Played 31 minutes, had 2 points. Shot the ball 5 times. It just ain't it. And they got to find ways to get him involved and get his confidence back. But I think he'll be fine. You know, I say that, but it's like I still believe they'll be he'll be a guy that they can count on, and he'll be a guy that can still really help out. But Arkansas is actually playing a team tonight called Maryland Eastern Shore. So yeah, get ready for that excitement. Yes, it's just funny because I guess I spelled it wrong. I said MESU. It's actually UMES. So sorry, the Umes. But yeah, Maryland Eastern Shore. They're 2-6 this year. They've been pretty terrible. Their 2 wins this year came from, I don't even know who I'm going to try to, PSU Scullykill. They won 96-77. They also beat a school called Gallaudet. I'm not making this up. So yeah, that's the way. But here's the thing: is Maryland Eastern Shore has actually played some teams. Like they played Vanderbilt, lost by 40. They play Illinois here recently, lost. In fact, that was their last game. They lost 87-40 to Illinois. They also play Little Rock here soon. So a couple of familiar foes that you could see there. They play in the MEAC conference. Teams like Norfolk State, Howard, Morgan State, Delaware State. Those teams, those are the ones that they play in it. So it should be an easy win, and one that Arkansas just cruises right on through and gets the job done. No questions asked, no problems. Just boom, 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 boom. There it is. But I don't know if Trevon Brazile is going to play or Jonas Adu is going to play. I doubt they do. But guys, this team is not good right now. I'm coming out and saying it. They're not good. I think John Calipari knows they're not good. And the fact that Arkansas is in the top 25 is not because of they've earned it there, but it's just because based on what they should do on paper in that regard. It's like, I get it, but I'm just being honest. They're not good. Can they be good? Of course they can. Can they reach a potential that takes them to another level? Of course they can. Like, so don't misconstrue. Don't take it like that I'm saying that this team's garbage and they're never going to be any good. Of course, they may not, but the potential is still there. They just are not good right now. And it's kind of frustrating to watch because it's a unique thing where Arkansas has had some good teams, obviously. And there's times where they had like NBA caliber players on the same team. And the only time they really had that, at least here recently, was just a couple years ago when they had Nick Smith, Jordan Walsh, Anthony Black, because all three of those guys got drafted in the first round of the NBA draft and are playing in the NBA right now. So that's great, but you got guys that not only are one and done caliber players, but you got guys that are transfers that were NBA players. So you got, like, theoretically speaking, the most NBA talent that you could have on a team. And so to see them struggle is just where Razorback fans are kind of like, what is this? What do we do with this? Why is this happening? This doesn't make any sense. And of course, the Kentucky fans are going to come out of the woodwork and be like, yeah, good luck having fun with that. Sweet. Maybe so. But it's hard to figure out really what this team is and what to expect and how to feel. Again, it could be good. It might be good. But right now, it's not. And if they beat Maryland Eastern Shore by 30 points, it's not going to matter. It's not going to change anything. The big test is going to be against Illinois on Thanksgiving. How do you do in that game? That's going to be the telltale sign. We'll talk a little bit about the SEC in football because, folks, it is wild and where Arkansas could end up finishing. We'll talk about that and more, so stay with us here on Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, folks, I'm here to tell you about the GameTime app. We know that we're always looking to go to games, right? You got Razorback football, you got Razorback basketball, you got Razorback baseball here before you know it. But either way, anytime you go to a sporting event, whether it's Razorbacks or NFL or anything, you have to actually have tickets. Those are still things that you have to have in order to go to these games. Well, sometimes it's tough to find tickets. Well, look no further than getting the GameTime app, because right now they're going to make sure that they get you hooked up with the best deal, and you will get the best deal possible because they have a lowest price guarantee where if you find a ticket that's cheaper somewhere else, they will credit you 110% of the difference. They also have a feature that you can toggle with the all-in pricing. So that way you see the prices up front. None of these things of like, oh, that's a great deal, and then 5 steps later you're paying double because of all these hidden fees. You get to see the all-in pricing right up front. Just hit that feature. And they also give you the panoramic view of those seats so you can make sure that when you're sitting there, they look great and you got a good view of everything. That's what's most important. So you got to check them out today and take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime Picks. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download GameTime today. What time is it? It's game time. All right, so final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Folks, the SEC has gone insane in football. I thought that we, at least in the final 2 weeks of the season, especially, we're getting pretty much down to, all right, well, here's the best teams. Here's who best he's playing the best right now. Here's who is going to be in the playoff. Nope. So we'll start. Kentucky lost to Texas 31-14. Doesn't matter. Oklahoma beat Alabama. Oklahoma, a team that is fighting for bowl eligibility, and they finally did get it, and they got to go to LSU. But they're 2-5 in conference play. They beat Alabama at home 24-3. 24-3. I just don't understand. What? How? Well, that's not even the craziest thing. That would have been crazy within itself. The craziest thing is seeing Ole Miss, who I dubbed on this podcast as the best team in the country because of the way they were playing, the way they beat Georgia, the way they were just putting it on people. Well, what did they do? They go down to Gainesville, Florida team that's also fighting for bowl eligibility, and they get beat 24-17. The Gators, ever since they have given the confidence level over there to Billy Napier, they've gone out and they've performed well. They beat LSU last week. They beat Ole Miss. And they got Florida State coming up that might be a tough one for them to do. But still just a huge turnaround and really a great showcase for Florida. But Ole Miss, how? I even said, y'all may remember this on our SEC roundtable deal. I said this last week where I'm like, Ole Miss, anytime they're about to get there, they're about to get it, they're about to get SEC stuff, whatever it is, they screw it up. 4th and 25, something happens. It's always something that happens that keeps them from taking that next step, and this was it. They're not in playoff contention anymore. At least they shouldn't be, because 8-3 right now. You got Mississippi State coming up, and you'll win that one. But 9-3, I mean, your best. You got a really good Georgia win, and I think South Carolina is definitely a good win. So maybe they'll consider you, but I'll be hard pressed to see a 3-loss team get into the playoff that easy. So that happened. You also had Auburn beat Texas A&M. What is happening? That game went to, I believe, quadruple overtime. Like, good stuff there. But they lose, and this one, 43-41. Auburn, who has 6 losses already and needs to beat Alabama to even get bowl eligible, which they won't. I mean, of course, I don't know in these days. I can't guarantee anything. But anyways, they Texas A&M was in the driver's seat. And what's crazy is they're still in the driver's seat and control their own destiny for winning the SEC. But they lose, and in just unexplicable way that happens. And LSU barely beat Vanderbilt 24-17. They did win, but there's already people calling for, a change there at the head coaching position with Brian Kelly. So what a weird time, what a weird vibe, what a weird thing the SEC is. None of it makes sense. None of it makes sense. And here's what's wild, folks. If Arkansas beats Missouri, that'll put them at 4-4 in conference. That'll tie them with Florida, as well as Missouri, put them above Missouri, and potentially LSU and Bama or Ole Miss. If any of those three teams lose, which I don't think any of them will, but if any of them do, they all have the same amount of losses there, or the same record in conference play. That's just insane to me. South Carolina, A&M, Tennessee, Georgia, and Texas are the only teams that are guaranteed right now. You got 5 teams in the SEC, the only ones that are guaranteed right now to have a above 500 record in SEC play. And Arkansas, realistically, if they were able to do that, that would put them up there to where they could potentially be finishing 7th, 8th in the conference. Potentially. None of it makes sense. None of it makes sense, but it makes it so much fun to talk about and so much fun to have. So guess we'll see where it goes. But appreciate each and every one of you listening and watching into Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter at John Neighbors Show for any questions, comments, concerns that you may have. Keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you then.